Hello, I'm Javier Hakeem, and this is Harking Back, a podcast about the pop culture of a lifetime. Whose life? Mine. I'm going back through every year I've been alive and finding out what was going on in that year. This week we're looking at 1997. I am 14. And what happens when you are 14? Well, if you grew up in my age, it was when everyone started drinking alcohol, or trying to drink alcohol, or seeing if they liked alcohol. I think I've seen studies that this generation, Gen Z, they're drinking less. Like, this is the first generation in a long time, or ever, that they're drinking less and doing less drugs. This was not the case when I was 14. I think when I was 14, because this is the sort of time when your parents are letting you go out at night with your friends. You know, you're going to go to the movies or someone's house or a party or something, and they all know that you're going to start drinking. Like, there was an event in Christchurch where I grew up, and it was called Classical Sparks, and it was a big outdoor concert in the park, and they'd get classical music and all sorts of music, but mainly classical music, and fireworks at the end. And what would happen is there was a little shady bit under the trees, and that's where all the teenagers would go to drink booze. And that's where we went. I remember the year before that, before what I'm about to tell you, there had been like this expose of like teenagers getting drunk at the park. What's this coming to? And there was a photo of teenagers drunkenly passed out in a jail cell. And my parents looked at this and they're like, look at this. What's the world coming? Look at this. What do you think their parents would say? And I didn't want to tell them that one of the kids, and there was a friend of mine from high school, like a good friend, that I'd go around to their house and stuff, and I'd be like, yeah, I mean, they're clearly having troubles. Yeah. So the next year, this is when I had a girlfriend. Yeah, I don't want to brag. I had a girlfriend. And we said we'd go meet at Classical Sparks. You know, I was going with my friends. She was going with her friends. And when we met up, she was hammered. She'd been drinking. I wasn't really drinking because, truth be told, the first time I tried alcohol, I was like, that is horrendous. Who would drink that? I remember the first time one of my friends, we went to the park. You know, we told his parents we were going for a walk or something. And then he pulls out a beer. And he's like, yeah, try this. And I tried it and just immediately, just retched, just forced it down. I was like, this is the worst drink I've ever had in my life. I mean, it's yucky. That's how I felt. I felt like I was 4 years old, just going, ooh, it's yucky. That was my relationship with booze at that time. Anyway, so I turn up there. My girlfriend at the time is hammered. And then I'm talking to her, and she's just doing, you know, when you're a teenager and you get drunk for the first time, you are just a giant toddler. Like, you're running around, you're giggling, you're falling over, you're just happy, stupid drunk. She was a bit like this, and before you know it, a cop just materializes behind us, a police officer, and we're like, oh shit! And he sees my girlfriend with her bottle of I think it was wine. Yeah, it was wine. And he goes, right, give me the bottle, and I'm going to need your name and phone number. And I was like standing next to her, and I was like, oh my God, this is so awkward. We're caught by the police. I mean, I'm not in trouble, but shit, I wanted to run so much. I wanted to just run. But I was like, then she will never kiss me again. She will dump me immediately. So I had to stand there, and I was like, oh, this is all her now. This is all her. And he's like, right, name. And she just gave a fake name and a fake number and a fake address, like, without hesitation. It was textbook. I even believed her, and I knew she was lying. And the cop leaves, and I was like, okay, that was immediately, like, really alarming and scary, and also kind of sexy as well, that you just rattled off this false information, right? So she ends up going home with her friends, because she's suddenly like, oh my God, that was a bit weird. I'm going home. I'll see you later. And the other reason was, I was there with one of my friends, Matt, and we come across one of our other school friends. He's not a close friend, but he's in our class. This guy's name is Morgan, and he is so drunk, so incredibly drunk that he's just lying down on the ground. And I can't remember if his friends were around or something, or maybe his friends were also drunk and they couldn't help him or something. So me and Matt try to get Morgan. We're like, come on, mate, come on, wake up. Let's go. And he's just... And we like realize we can't leave him here. We gotta try and help. Gotta try and get him home. And also, we're 14 and we've got like a very severely drunk friend. We don't have money for a cab. There's no Uber at this point. We don't have cell phones. So only a few select people had cell phones at that time. And we're like, what do we do? So we're like, shit. I think we're going to have to walk him home or like essentially carry him home. This guy lived so far away from where we were. We kind of figured like what the walk would be. And we're like, oh, crap. So me and Matt essentially carried Morgan home. And I think it took us about easily an hour. And just like, oh my God, he's heavy. And like sometimes he would kind of, be coherent enough to like take a few steps. And we did that thing where he was kind of like, he was in between us and we had one of his arms over each of our shoulders, essentially doing that, carrying him home all the way home. And we're kind of like getting close to his house and we're like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Morgan, wake up. I hate you. I hate that you've done this. And, but we're kind of getting by on the fact that like, oh, when his mum sees him, because I think he just lived with his mum or his parents were divorced. I can't remember. Anyway, when his mum sees him and sees us, like maybe she'll thank us and maybe, oh my God, maybe a glass of water would be great or something like that. She'll be very thankful and we're thinking about, this is a good thing to do. This is a good thing to do. And we get there and we knock on the door and his mum answers and just goes, oh my God. She looks at him and just goes, oh my God, Morgan, and get in here. And she like grabs him and throws him inside. And she looks at us and just goes, thank you, boys, and closes the door. And we were like, what the fuck? No. Like, surely at the very least, you have questions. Like, where was he? What's he drunk? I think, you know what? In retrospect, I've just thought about, I think she thought that we got him drunk. And we were like, oh, we don't know what to do with him. We better just take him home and so he's not our problem anymore. Oh my God, I've spent all these years thinking, how ungrateful can you be? Like, obviously she didn't know we'd walked him home for an hour while he was like this. I've just suddenly thought about it. She thought we got him drunk. And the next day, like, I can't remember when we saw him at school. I think maybe he was just like, oh, Saturday night or whatever. And we were like, yeah, mate, yeah. I think he might have like mumbled a thank you or something. Oh my God, I just thought about that. Oh. No, Morgan's mum, we carried him home. We should have left him. How about that? No, we couldn't have left him. He was so drunk. Oh, by the way, I was not exempt. We all had these horrendous times getting drunk. My first one was, it makes it sound like there's a lexicon. And you know what? There were drunken moments. Yeah, let's not lie here. My first one, I remember, I was staying the night at a friend's and we were going to go to the rugby. I think this is the only time I went to the rugby because my friends wanted to go to the rugby. I do not remember the rugby because before we left, as we were leaving, one of them said he got a 2-litre bottle of Pepsi and tipped about half of it out and then went to his parents' liquor cabinet and filled the rest up with whiskey. So we're looking at a 1-to-1 ratio of Pepsi and whiskey. And I tried it and I noticed that like the first taste of it was like kind of sweet, and then the aftertaste was horrendous whiskey. And I just thought, if I just drink this quickly, I'll just get the sweet taste, right? This is my 14-year-old drinking logic coming in. I'll just get the sweet taste. So if I just keep chugging it back, then I can just minimize the horrendous whiskey taste, right? So this was my plan. Long story short, I think I drunk most of, like, we were sharing it around us, but I definitely drunk most of it. I got the lion's share. And to the point when we get to the rugby, also my girlfriend was there. We meet up with my girlfriend and my friends at this point. They're like, I am, what would you call? I am floppy at this point. I'm floppy drunk. And we're meeting at the rugby at the cheapest seats, which at that day was called the Embankment, which was just steps. There was no seats. It was just steps and everyone stood there. And suddenly I just have to sit down. And my girlfriend goes, hey, you don't look so good. And I'm like, yeah, I don't feel so. And then I just chuck. I just throw up on the Embankment. And the Embankment is a crowded place. But as soon as you throw up, trust me, people will make room. And I remember sitting there, like watching, like looking at this space around me, and suddenly everyone's looking at me, and I remember thinking like, oh no, I am so drunk, and also I am so embarrassed right now. This is a horrendous place to be. And I wanted to move, but like my body was like, you are not going anywhere. You do not have the wherewithal to move any limbs right now. So I just kind of sat there just like at this pathetic heap. And then an old friend from primary school just turned up, Nick, and he just came and sat down next to me. He's like, oh, g'day, bro. Having a bit of a rough one, are we? And I was like, hi, Nick. Yeah, it's not going so well. And he was like, how about we go get some water or something? And anyway, he helped me out. He lifted me up and he went and got me straight. And I remember on the bus ride home, I was barely holding it together. And I remember when the bus pulled up, I left through the middle exit of the bus, the one down the side of the bus, and they had a little handrail there. And as I was getting down there, I don't know how I did it, but I managed to like crush my nuts on the handrail, and just collapse out of the bus. It was a horrendous first time getting drunk. Not like I was watching a family with my I was watching a video or a movie with my family or friends, and just suddenly realized I was drunk. No, this was full public humiliation, and this put me off drinking for a long time. Maybe it was a good thing that I just had the worst time, and then after that I was like, yeah, you know what? Alcohol's yucky, and the last time I did it, made a public spectacle of myself. So I'm gonna knock that on the head for a little bit. Maybe. Anyway, let's talk about what else happened in 97. Google.com is registered as a domain name. I wonder whatever happened to them. The last episode of Seinfeld airs. The ending of Seinfeld airs in 97. And it comes to an end. And I'm glad it did come to an end. Just from an integrity point of view. Because he was getting so much money. They made 9 seasons. And it was the most popular show on TV. And the network, to get a 10th season, they offered him several $1 million per episode for a 10th season. But he said, no, I'm done. Say what you will about Jerry Seinfeld, but he knew when he was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. The money wasn't a thing. Or maybe he just got to the point where I've got so much money, it doesn't matter anymore. When you're dominating at Monopoly, and someone pays you $2,000 rent, and you're like, oh yeah, whatever. And they're like, I'm 500 short, and you're like, yep, okay, that's fine. I don't care. I'm winning so hard right now. It does not matter. I do not care. I think it was probably that. Yeah, because if it was in the 3rd season and they suddenly said, we will give you $10 million per episode, he would be like, yeah, sure. Yes, absolutely. I don't even want to make this, but yeah, let's do that. But I think he just had so much money. The ending of Seinfeld was the most watched TV episode, I think, in history at the point. And a lot of people were annoyed with it. As would become a trend in later years, people getting annoyed by the endings of TV series. And I think it's because this was the first time maybe that something, well, not the first time, there would have been other things, but it was built up so much. There was so much hype and so much pressure on this ending that by pure statistics alone, you are going to get a large number of people that are unhappy with it. You were never going to please everyone. And also, I don't know how they could have expected a satisfying ending, because by the nature of this show, the characters do not change. This show is supposed to be about nothing, that they embrace being the worst people in the world, that they do not change. There is zero character development with all these characters. All 4 of the main characters, they're the same as they were 9 seasons ago. If you look at comparing it with Friends, they all go through a change. They all go through development. Phoebe grows up. She meets her biological father. She forgives her mother. She finds out her mother is still alive and still there. Ross goes through several marriages, but then finds that he wants to be with Rachel. They have this relationship development. Monica and Chandler change as people because they find each other. There's change, there's development. Excuse me. In Seinfeld, there's none. So it's very hard to wrap up. However, on the flip side, it makes total comedic sense if you will look at it from a purely comedy point of view. The whole ending is one big callback of all the big jokes of the series, of all the famous quotes, the storylines, characters, all the big popular characters. They come back. And the very last piece of dialogue, where they're in the jail cell And Jerry's talking about, they start talking about that second button on the shirt. That second button makes or breaks the shirt. That is the very first piece of dialogue from the very first episode of Seinfeld. George and Jerry sitting in the cafe. That's the very first bit they talk about. So it comes full circle in that way. So from a comedic point of view, the ending is very, very satisfying comedically. But from a storyline, sitcom, TV series ending, I can see why people were like, what? But what could it have been? I don't know. Maybe if they just ended in jail. I get it. What else in 97? Barbie. The Barbie doll. New Barbie is released and it comes out. New Barbie has a larger waistline, smaller breasts, and more modest clothing, and is still an unobtainable figure. I wonder if when all this unobtainable figure talk was happening, if someone high up at Mattel they came to us like, sir, we've got serious problems. Like, there's a big movement against the unobtainable figure that is Barbie. And I wonder for a second they were like, shit, that unobtainable figure, that is a great marketing line for our dolls. Barbie, the unobtainable figure. And they're like, no, sir, yeah, this is really serious. And he's like, oh, yeah, of course it's serious. But maybe... what else happens in 97? Tiger Woods becomes sorry, I'm going to take a cough because I've got something in my throat. And I'm just going to try and put my hand over the microphone rather than edit this out. Here we go. Sorry, big spike there. Tiger Woods becomes the youngest golfer ever to win the Masters, which I think is great because he's the opposite. He's the total opposite of what you expect from a golfer. Like, when you think of golf, you think of old white men called Terry, right? And then you get the complete opposite winning the biggest competition. There's this 21-year-old black guy named Tiger who wins it. It's what? How out of left field is that? It would be like as if the 100 meters was won by a 60-year-old white guy from Leeds named Murray. Just shook up the sport, and I loved it. And then shook up his marriage in a bad way. 97, the very first Harry Potter book is published. Look at how thin, the Philosopher's Stone is. The first Harry Potter book is compared to, what's the last one? I don't know. I'm going to say Deathly Hallows. I don't know. I'm not a Harry Potter fan. I can hear some people go, no, you idiot. It's Goblet of Phoenix Fire. I don't know. But that's what editing does. You know what? Because the first book, someone had to edit it and look at it and go, okay, this bit's bloated, this bit's too much. Someone had to direct, someone had to edit this. And that's why it becomes a hit. And that's why, look at the size of the last novel. When this is a surefire hit series. And at that point, everyone around someone becomes a yes person. And this is when, what would you call it? When the artist has no one to answer to. When they become a little bit bloated with their own work. When no one is there going, come on, you can do this better. You can make this shorter. Like in comedy, this happens all the time. That if you can make a joke shorter, that's all for it. Like, that's the best thing you can do. Like, everyone's constantly looking to how can you make your jokes more concise. And I'm guessing in writing, like looking for quality, not quantity. But at this point, the publishers are like, look, we're going to sell this book anyway. I don't care how long it is. Go for it. JK, just whatever you want to write. As long as you write it. That's what happens. At this point, it becomes more important than you write it than it's good. Right? And then they would be like, yeah, I don't care. Just write it. What? You want to make it 2 parts? It's that long. Even better. Cha-ching. I read the first Harry Potter book. It's the only one I read. I read it when I was about 18 or like 19. I was a young adult. And when I read it, it was several years after this, but I knew it was hugely popular. I know everyone loved it. And I read it expecting to go, okay, let's see what the magic is. And I read it, and I was like, halfway through, I was like, this is a children's book. But I persevered because my girlfriend at the time loved it. And I was like, I will finish it for you. And I finished it, and I was like, no, I don't care about this world. I mean, I can see why children do. And this is coming from me, who is a huge nerd, who like loves superheroes and Star Wars and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is coming from me. I put this book down and I went, that's for nerds or children, you know? It's so funny. I am such a hypocrite in that respect where I'm like, you know what? Being a Star Wars fan or Marvel fan doesn't make you a nerd. But when I see like adults who are really into Harry Potter, I'm like, okay, nerds. Yes, I called you out. I don't get it. It's not for me. Like, just wizarding. I never chose the sorcerer character in a fantasy game. I was much more the barbarian. Okay? But you know what? I'm looking forward to giving it a second shot because my daughter is maybe about the age where she can start reading Harry Potter, or we can start reading it together. I think it would be a nice kind of book to read together, like at bedtime. I could read it to her, or we could read a page each, or something like that. What age can you read Harry Potter? Any age? Like, she's 7. I might give it one more year because she gets very, very scared about things very easily. I'm like, I think I've told you this before, but she found The Dentist and Finding Nemo scary. I'm like, oh my God. We grew up with The Labyrinth and The Dark Crystal and all this stuff, like, and Return to Oz. Oh, I might do a top 5 about the most scary children's movies from the 80s. Anyway, let's move on. What else happens in 97? Most dial-up connections at the time had been on modems 28.8 kilobits per second, or if you were well off, maybe 33.6. Ooh, but in 97 we get 56k, baby. Oh, lightning speed internet. You could download a movie in like a couple of days with 56k. Whoa. Oh, imagine if you could keep everyone in your family off the phone for 3 days. Resolutions. This is what I'm talking about. Resolutions change from 640 by 480 to 800 by 600 pixels. Whoa! Who would need such resolution? Who would need it? This is a nice little segue to talk about video games. Let's talk about the video games first before we delve into songs and movies. One of the big games that comes out in 97 is X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter, which PC gamers talk about a classic. I never got into it. I never got it. And also, I was never really big into flying games. I remember my dad had brought home like one flight simulator. It was like a stealth bomber simulator, F-11 7A. I still remember it. F-11 7A, yes. And I managed to I could never land the plane. So what I would do is I'd finish the mission and then I'd fly back to base and crash the plane and eject. And every briefing would be like, you did the mission, but you crashed the plane again? Could you stop doing that? And I was like, I don't know how to land. Sorry, can't do it. I just found is it just me, or is every cockpit-style fighter flying game where you've got, like, pilot point of view and you're in a dogfight, to me, every single game was just seeing the enemy ship whiz past your screen, and so you'd pull up to, like, chase it, and just keep pulling up until you see it as a spectator, just whiz another direction, then you'd move that direction, and then whiz past that, and I just got disorientated, I got headaches doing it. It just felt like you were in one of those... It didn't feel like I was in a dogfight hunting down enemy fighters. It felt much more like I was in one of those, those gyroscope 3 planes of motion rides of just like, what the hell is going on? Never got into them, but X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter, I know a lot of people loved that game. Another Star Wars game that comes out in 97, Jedi Knight, Dark Forces 2. Other big games that come out, Age of Empires, Road Rash, Gran Turismo, Diablo, Carmageddon comes out, and this was a controversial game. And this is, the 90s was just like a barley field for parents to pick out problematic songs and especially video games. And I can see why with this one, but I'm still a well-adjusted person, I think. Carmageddon was a car racing game that was set in like a busy area, like a street race, but no one in the city has been told that there's a race going on. And all the cars have like blades on them and like weapons on them and stuff. And you could either win the race 3 ways. 3 ways. You could either win the race, just be the first one to cross the line, or kill every other car on the racetrack, like make them undrivable because there was damage that you could pick up on the cars. Or you could run over every pedestrian and kill every pedestrian on the map. And guess which one every 14-year-old boy was going for? So I would spend, the race would start and be like, no, you guys go do your race, whatever. And I would just start mowing people down, as everyone did in this game. I know this game, when it released in some other countries, they replaced the people with zombie characters, and I could see why. This was also the first time I realized that I could play music on the computer in the background and have that music play while I'm playing in game. So I remember playing Carmageddon, mowing down pedestrians while listening to Sunshine by Dario G. You know, that way, mama, you know, that really happy kind of tribal dance track. That one, yeah. I was killing people to that. Worms 2 comes out, which in my mind is the best multiplayer party game you can have when you only have a PC. Just try it. A little game called Grand Theft Auto comes out in 97. God, that's how old I am. I was there when Grand Theft Auto 1 came out. It was given to me on a CD had other games from a friend. Again, I played it with cheats first time because, you know, you would get the game and there'd also be a file and they're going, hey, here are all the cheats for the game. And I found it a bit boring. But once you, again, like Doom, once you remove the cheats and you play the game properly, it was so good. I remember the first time I went up to someone on a motorbike to steal the bike and it said press enter to like take their bike. My character just punched the guy on the bike. He fell off and I got on the bike and I almost wet myself laughing. It was just so brazen. I was laughing at how funny it looked and how brazen it was and just how callous it was that they just went like, yeah, we'll just be able to do this in game. Here you go. If you want a bike, just punch someone and take it. Like, it was really a criminal's playground, which is all it's ever been. Grand Theft Auto 1 was top-down view, like it's bird's eye view, and shooting anyone was impossible. The aiming was horrendous. You couldn't shoot anyone unless you had a machine gun. Pistol, forget about it. You could ride a super bike, but you'd get half a block and you'd definitely hit something and kill yourself. And I remember you could also get massive points if you mowed down an entire row of Hare Krishnas. This is gaming in the 90s, folks. Top 5 video games of 97. This is via Wikipedia, okay? I found a list on Wikipedia. You know what it's like with these lists for video games. Anytime I can find a list, I'm going with it. Top 5 home console video games of 97. Number 5, Super Mario 64. Number 4, Star Fox 64. And number 3, Mario Kart 64. I think 64 in Nintendo 64 is kind of nailing it at the moment. At number 2, the Pokemon games, Red, Green, Blue. I don't know what those mean, but you might. On Game Boy. And at number 1, it's not a Nintendo 64 game. It is Final Fantasy VII. Not nearly as final a fantasy as the last 6 would have led you to believe. And that was released on PlayStation. This is the one that had the big remake recently. Is this the Final Fantasy, the one that everyone goes crazy for? I don't know the Final Fantasy games. I've heard that they're all standalone, which is fine. Good. Should I get into it? Should I play it? Do I need to play the first 6 if I just want to play 7, which is apparently the best? Let me know. And also, how is GoldenEye not on this list? Not on this list. How's GoldenEye not on this list? Anyone who had an N64 and a friend or more friends knew that GoldenEye was the best game to play multiplayer. I remember I borrowed a friend's N64 and I was playing GoldenEye, and my dad, who never played video games, I remember in the past I'd ask him like, hey, let's play video games together. I think we tried to play Golden Axe together, and he was like, oh, this is just a hack and slash bullshit game. And so he never liked it, but he saw me playing GoldenEye, and I think he heard the James Bond music, and my dad's a huge James Bond fan, and he was like, what's that? I was like, oh, it's GoldenEye. And he said, can I have a go? And I was like, who are you? And he clearly never held a controller in his life for more than 2 seconds. And I was trying to get him to show him how to aim, and there was this guard he was trying to take down from like a sniper shot, and he just shot like 7 times around the guy's head, and the guard's just kind of looking around like, I think is someone trying to shoot me? And on the 7th shot, my dad kills him, and he looks at me and goes, Bond. James Bond. And I was like, give me the controller, Dad. That's the longest it's taken James Bond to kill anyone ever. But I enjoyed that he liked that. And then I think that was enough for him. He was like, okay, that's enough. Top songs in 97. I Believe I Can Fly from the Space Jam soundtrack by R. Kelly. R. Kelly. Isn't it horrible when someone's work is good, but they are just the worst person? I think I've talked about this before, but R. Kelly is just the worst. He's such a piece of shit. I love that interview when these allegations came out. and he does this over the top, like, they're trying to destroy me, and he gets all emotional, and you can see this is a tactic that psychologists have actually talked about, like, of extreme playing the victim in a short sense. And the interviewer is just sitting there not reacting at all. They've clearly been briefed, if he does this, just sit there and don't give him any sympathy, don't give him any, like, Robert, I understand. You know, they just sat there stone-faced, and it's just hilarious watching him trying to get a reaction out of her, and she's just like, nope, you're not having it. Other songs in 97, Return of the Mac by Mark Morrison. This is a good one. Return of the Mac. Spice Girls are nailing it. They've got songs in the charts like Wannabe, Say You'll Be There, Two Become One. This is the start of Spice Girl mania, I think. I went out in high school with a girl called, I can't remember, Jess? I don't know. Anyway, I went out with this girl very briefly who was crazy into Spice Girls, but also equally crazy into Pink Floyd. So this like kind of 90s teeny bopper kind of vibe, but also this 1970s deep rock vibe. It was great. I mean, I love it. This eclectic mix. One of the biggest songs of the year is Bop by Hanson, which is a damn catchy ass song. I remember if you were, it was one of the first songs like, it was cool to not like it, like the Macarena. It was like, this song again. Go back and listen to Bop by Hanson. It has got surprisingly deep lyrics. The first verse goes, you have so many relationships this life, only one or two will last. You go through all the pain and strife, then you turn your back and they've gone so fast. Oh yeah, they've gone so fast. So hold on to the ones who really care. In the end, they'll be the only ones there. When you get old and start losing your hair, can you tell me who will still care? Those are surprisingly deep lyrics for Bop, right? So but then you have this reflective, deep lyrics, and they clearly spend all their points on the first verse and not the chorus, because then they suddenly go to a chorus that technically has no words. Right? You go from these lovely, profound lyrics to no words. Actually, sorry, there is one word, and that word is bop. Right? You go from bop, da ba do it da ba da ba. It's like the writer had a stroke after writing the first verse. They're like, oh, dude, this is really good. What else you got? You okay? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, don't worry, we'll make it work. So surprisingly deep lyrics are from Hanson. Mariah Carey brings out a song called Honey, which is just got horrendously not veiled lyrics at all. The song's called Honey. I remember that I heard this, and even when I heard this, I was like, come on, Mariah, this is borderline disgusting. Like, the chorus of Honey goes, and it's just like honey when your love comes over me. Oh, baby, I've got a dependency. Always strung out for another taste of your honey. I was like, pump the brakes, Mariah. The song, if you listen to it, it's actually an allegory for... Yeah, no shit. Boys to Men, who have been killing it for the rest of early in the 90s. They're in their swan song era. Like, they bring out a song this year. It does okay. It's called 4 Seasons of Loneliness. Ugh. Emo in the 90s. But they go all out in the music video. Like, the song is so. But the music video, they've clearly, this is their magnum opus. They've got white out, they're serious. You know a boy band is serious when they're all wearing matching white outfits and they're barefoot, to show they're in touch. There's hyperspace effects. The thing is, 4 Seasons of Love, it's about a breakup and how someone misses you. They miss someone. If you're not over someone after 4 seasons, you fucked up. All right? They've moved on. You clearly did something wrong in that relationship. You Make Me Wanna by Usher comes out in 97, which is just an anthem for cheating. You make me want to leave the one I'm with, start a new relationship with you. How many people thinking about having an affair did this song push over the edge? People going, oh man, I don't know if I could do it. Let's just turn on the radio. And they hear this song and they're like, Usher gets it. Usher's speaking to me. Yeah, I feel you, man. A song, this is a little bit of a random song, but a song called Where Have All the Cowboys Gone by Paula Cole comes out. And it's got, in the chorus it goes, where have all the cowboys gone? and I used to drive my flatmate, Gareth, good friend of mine, still. I'd drive him crazy because anytime he'd ask me, like, hey, where are our glasses? Where are our plates? Anytime he'd ask where anything was, I would just go, where have all the glasses gone? And he could tell that it was from something. You could see in his brain, he's like, that's from something. And he'd be like, what's that from? And I would never tell him. I would never tell him. So every time I do it, he'd just get more and more pissed off. And he hated it. And I loved doing it. A little song called Barbie Girl from Aqua comes out. Oh my God. No one could tell if this was serious or an actual sincere attempt at a song. The less I say, no, I don't even want to talk about Barbie Girl by Aqua. If you're interested, or you just want to trip down memory lane, just go YouTube it. You tell me if it's real or not. Top 5 songs that come out in 97. Number 5, Can't Nobody Hold Me Down by Puff Daddy. Oh boy, this has aged like milk, hasn't it? Can't Nobody Hold Me Down. Maybe the judicial system will have a crack, eh? Eh, Puff? Did he? Did he? Turns out he probably did. At number 4, Unbreak My Heart by Toni Braxton. Number 3, I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy. I don't think anyone's going to be missing you too much now, mate. Number 2, oh, this is quite an interesting one. At number 2, 2 songs tied at number 2 by the same artist, which is You Were Meant For Me and Foolish Games by, do you remember the artist? It's Jewel. It's Jewel. And at number 1, Candle in the Wind, 97 by Elton John. Obviously, this was Elton John's song, Candle in the Wind, rewritten for Diana, who died that year. I mean, I know that this is a pop culture podcast, but you really can't go past the fact that Diana died in 97. And so, honestly, you cannot, to this day, mention her name in a comedy club without everyone's assholes clenching at the speed of light. The mere mention of her name will have people going, what are you going to say about the People's Princess? Like, her and Madeleine McCann are 2 words that I don't care. I've never seen any comedian pull off a hilarious and well-aimed Diana / Madeleine McCann routine. Actually, except Stuart Lee. Look at that. It's a very good bit. But again, it's not punching. Anyway, watch it. By the way, Mother Teresa died about a week after Diana, and no one remembers because Diana was just all over the news. In terms of media coverage, she really chose the wrong time to die. All right, let's move on to movies. Movies in 97. Wow. Movies are just greenlit left, right, and center in 97. Like, there's a lot of movies, like, and people are going to the cinema. People are going clearly because all these movies made a lot of money. But you've got movies making a lot of money, but so many varying degrees of quality. Like, people are voting a lot less with their wallets in 97 than they are today. Let's go through some good movies that come out this year that make a lot of money. Jim Carrey bounces back from the cable guy this year with Liar Liar, which is great. Air Force One comes out. LA Confidential, The Fifth Element, which is just, so good. G.I. Jane, The Sixth Sense, As Good As It Gets comes out. This is the one with Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt. What happened to Helen Hunt? She kind of was like a big A-lister for a bit, and then she kind of stopped. I'm sure she has her reasons. But As Good As It Gets, Jack Nicholson plays a very talented writer who is a complete asshole with OCD. And this is one of the best introductions of a main character I've ever seen in a movie. Because at the start of the movie, it starts with this, it's an apartment building and in the hallway, and this front door opens, a door to an apartment, and this old lady, not old, like she's maybe about mid-60s, she's talking, she's like, oh, what a beautiful day. And she's talking to someone back in the apartment. Dear, I'm just going to head down to the market. And she's just so happy to go about her day. She's like, maybe I'll stop down by the florist and pick out some of those lovely hydrangeas I saw and picked last week. And then I might go get a coffee. Oh, it's going to be a lovely day. And then Jack Nicholson opens his door and she sees whose door it is. And she notices that he's about to come out and her demeanor just changes instantly to that motherfucker. And she goes back and closes the door so she doesn't have to interact or see him anymore. And that tells you so much, almost everything you need to know about Jack Nicholson's character, that this lady who was about to have the best day of her life sees this guy, and immediately her day is immediately ruined. That was a great introduction of a character. Good Will Hunting comes out in 97. I will never get sick of watching this movie. It's one of the movies, you turn it on, you're like, yes, no matter where it is in the movie, yes. And if it's near the start, you're like, oh, cancel everything. I'm watching Good Will Hunting. What can you say about this movie? Like, it's just incredibly well written, incredibly well acted. It's so funny in places. Like the bit I laugh my ass off every time, and it's just such a throwaway line, is when they realize that Will Hunting is a genius, but they don't know who he is. They know he's the janitor. So Professor Lambeau and his lackey, his little kiss-ass sidekick, go down to like the mechanics maintenance department, where it's just guys in overalls, and they go, "We need to know who's the janitor." And the guy in the overalls suddenly, I love it, because suddenly it's his, this is my domain. This is my jurisdiction. And he goes, "I can't give you that name." And the lackey goes, "This is Professor Lambeau." And without skipping a beat, the guy in the overalls looks at his colleague in overalls and goes, "This is Professor Hughes." Oh shit, I will never not find that hilarious. It's just so loaded with who do you think you are? That doesn't work here. This is my house. It's just so quick. Oh, I love if my wife Annie, she loves Good Will Hunting as well. And if she sees this bit come up, she kind of rolls her eyes, and like that's because she knows I'm gonna Oh, you were just thinking about it. I'm actually starting to cry a little bit with laughter. I found it so funny. This is Professor Hughes. Oh shit. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so we got great movies, good movies that come out in 97. Let's look at some of the bad movies that come out in 97. Speed 2 comes out in 97. It makes a lot of money. It is horrendous. Tomorrow Never Dies. I mean, after GoldenEye, everyone was like, yes, Pierce Brosnan is a good Bond, and they can still make amazing Bond movies, and Tomorrow Never Dies comes out, and you're like, oh, no, they put a drill on a submarine. It's just not, I wanted to love it. There's a lot to love about Tomorrow Never Dies. He uses the car. The car was really cool. Terry Hatcher is a great Bond woman, and the Sheryl Crow does the theme tune. There's a lot to love, but it just doesn't hit the mark. Michelle Yeoh does an amazing fight in it. There's the motorcycle chase. It just doesn't quite hit it because of the villain, I think. Elliot Carver, the guy who wants to be a media mogul, the guy that wants to be like the worst person in the world in charge of a news corporation. Sorry, but Rupert Murdoch already exists. Anyway, Con Air comes out. I know some people that like this. It's not good. It's not good. Come on. There's so many action movies in the 90s. There's better ones than this. And it was the first time that Nicolas Cage was chosen to be an action star. And they said, let's give him a southern accent as well. And a mullet. And I don't buy it. Like, and there's a lot of Nicolas Cage movies that I do buy that a lot of people don't. But this one, Con Air, I do not. Anaconda comes out. That's horrendous. Jon Voight is in that somehow. I don't know why. Double Team, the Jean-Claude Van Damme / Dennis Rodman team up that nobody asked for. Face Off comes out. I mean, this is the thing. Face Off is ironically fun to watch. I mean, there is something, objectively it's not a good movie, but there is something quite satisfying to watch Travolta and Nicolas Cage going to 11 with their acting under the direction of John Woo. I mean, if you're going to try and enjoy it sincerely, if you're one of these people that's like, no, Face Off is actually a good movie, you are straining something hard and you're about to pull something in your brain. Okay? Just put it on and just enjoy it for the ridiculous ride it is. Okay? And also, in 97, one of the worst movies ever made, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Ugh, horrendous. There are also movies that are good and bad in 97. In two extremes, like I found two movies, and one was not appreciated back then, but it actually, on retrospect, is considered a masterpiece now. And one was hugely popular at the time and so pervasive through the pop culture then, and now is largely forgotten. The first one, Starship Troopers. It felt kind of crap when it came out, but no one understood what it was. It was directed by Paul Verhoeven, who did RoboCop, who everyone talked about a great satire on police militarization and consumerism. And this one is actually an amazingly good satire about military propaganda. I've always loved it, but I do remember at the time why people were like, oh, this is crap. I could kind of see why they thought it was crap, but look at it again today and you will see the layers it's got. It's very, very good. And also Austin Powers comes out in 97, which was so insanely popular at the time. It was a trilogy. I can't think of any other movie, I'm sure there are, but like that is so comedically successful that it warrants a trilogy. Even Ace Ventura didn't get a trilogy. The Mask didn't get a trilogy. It was, it's based on one character. And I think it felt so fantastic at the time, but it feels so dated by today's standards. I think the catchphrases have endured longer than the movies themselves. Like people saying, yeah, baby, and, all that. I mean, when was the last time you heard anyone say, let's sit down and watch Austin Powers again? When has that happened? When? Oh my God, Elizabeth Hurley. I had a huge crush on her. She looked, Okay, top 5 movies of 97. At number 5, The Lost World, Jurassic Park. And the sequel signaled the beginning of the end for Jurassic Park movies. There hasn't been a good Jurassic Park movie since the first one. Fight me on that. Fight me. I think I remember I groaned in this bit where like a 12-year-old girl manages to kick a velociraptor out a window. I was like, no. That's when I checked out of this movie. I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely. There is a horrendous death in this movie where a guy strays from the herd to take a piss, and he's set upon by lots of tiny little chicken-sized carnivorous dinosaurs. And I remember thinking like, oh, what, like little land piranhas? That's a horrible way to go. I think I'd rather just be chomped once by a T-Rex, one and done, than like death by 1,000 cuts. Batman and Robin comes out. This is at number 4 movie in 97. Oh, man. Batman and Robin. George Clooney Batman this time. I thought that the Batman Forever Batmobile was an eyesore until I saw this one. The Batman and Robin Batmobile might be the worst Batmobile that's ever been on the screen because it just looks like a toy. You can clearly see, oh, okay, they've made the toy and they've made the movie Batmobile off the toy. It's horrendous. It's got an open cockpit. Why? Why would it have that? I know the 60s Batmobile had an open cockpit, but that was different. That is style and hot rod influence. It's worlds apart. Okay? Arnold Schwarzenegger is Mr. Freeze, and it's a whole mess. It's just a whole big mess. It's just got this big campy vibe of the 60s show, but it does not translate to the big screen for this feature-length film. At one point, when people started talking about the bat accessories getting out of hand, you've got the Batarang, the Batwing, the Batmobile, what don't you have? At one point, Batman pulls out the Bat credit card. The Bat card. And he says, never leave home without it. Or like Visa or Master. He does product placement in there, and it's so stupid on so many levels. Why would What's the name on that bank account, Batman? Did the bank let you open an account under Batman? Or does it give away your secret identity? What address does it have on there? Number 1, Bat Lane, Batcave? Ugh. This movie is so bad that even Alfred dies of shame during it. He's like, I've been through 3 of these fucking movies. I'm out. I'm not even going to make it to the end of this movie. I'm dead. Alicia Silverstone is the best thing in this. By the way, when I keep mentioning actresses from this time, and you hear me mention their name, this is my 14-year-old self remembering them and going, oh my God, feelings. Number 3, 97, Men in Black. Solid film. This is great because it's doing a lot of great things. It's a new IP. It's interesting. It's pacey. It's a lot of fun. The CGI in it holds up. Holds up. You know, it's what you'd expect for '97. It doesn't take you out of the movie. It's got great jokes. It's very much a comedy. I mean, I love that bit where Zed goes, "God, check that out. We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger." It was a solid movie. Men in Black. Again, was that the last good Men in Black movie? I never saw number 3. People say that was all right. The second one was meh, and the new reboot, Men in Black International, did anyone see that? I don't know. I felt bad for Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, but they can cry into their millions. Number 2 is Bean. I mean, it had to happen, the Mr. Bean movie. I mean, people have been crying out for it, and we got it, and everyone went, we don't need another one. I mean, it just, again, it was one of those things that worked so well as a low-budget TV series, but as soon as you tried to give it massive production value and turn it into a feature-length film, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because Mr. Bean, the character, works in vignettes. Like, the less we actually know about Mr. Bean's actual life and his, it's fun to watch him for 5 minutes, right? But any more than 5 minutes at a time, you suddenly start thinking too much about this individual, and he stops becoming a character and he starts becoming a person, if you know what I mean. The character is fun to watch. He's doing this crazy thing. He's got that funny facial. He's found himself in this situation. The character is hilarious. The person is sad. You start thinking too much about this person. He lives alone. His best friend is his teddy. He can't socially interact with people. He's keeps a diary where nothing really happens in his life. It's sad, and it takes you away from the comedy, and it starts giving you too much compassion, which gets in the way of the laughs. That's why a feature-length movie of Bean doesn't work. Mr. Bean, a great comedic character, not a character. Don't think about it as a person. It's too depressing. Sorry, have I just ruined Mr. Bean for everyone? And number 1 in '97, no surprises here, Titanic. This was such a long film, but so good. Like this, when I talked about Seven Samurai being like, this is so goddamn long. Titanic is long, but James Cameron directs it in a way, it just feels pacey. It's ticking along. Everything is happening at where it should in this movie. It's dare I say, it's a perfect movie. And you know the ending. Everyone knows the ending. No one went into that movie going, what? I wonder if there was like a few people that didn't know, and they're like, watch out for the iceberg. Guys, watch out for that iceberg. It is so good. It's one of my wife's favourite movies. I think it's one of everyone's favourite movies. Oh, again, watching this in the cinema, the bit where the Titanic is sinking and the people are jumping off the back of the Titanic while it's almost vertical. There's this one guy that jumps off and he hits the propeller halfway down with a clunk and spins. I remember everyone in the theatre just going, ooh. I mean, Billy Zane plays a great villain. Leonardo DiCaprio cements himself as an A-list fantastic actor. It's so good. It is so good. Watch it. I like Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet has recently come out with commentary about some of the scenes in Titanic. I would never do them justice. Just go Google Kate Winslet commentary Titanic. Enjoy. Times Person of the Year is Andy Grove, who is the Intel CEO, who's doing great things with processors, I guess. That's all I'm going to say about him. What else happened in '97? I got my first fight in '97. My first fist fight. What had happened was, I was talking to Paul, my friend, and he'd been at his locker one day at school, and this guy called Alan came by with his friends, and as they're walking past Paul, Alan shoves him into his locker and says, "Out of my way, motherfucker." Right? And Paul tells me this, and I am rage-filled. Rage-filled? Rage, I was going to say raging or rage-filled. Rage-filled. I'm so angry because Paul is my oldest friend, and he looked after me in primary school when I was young and shy, when bullies would have a go at me. He would stand up for me, and he'd get in the way, and he would get bullied. Right? And then when I got a bit older and a bit more confident, that kind of stopped. But so the fact that someone picked on him like this physically shoved him up against the locker and said, "Out of my way, motherfucker." I was so angry. And the next day at school, I'm at lunchtime. I've got a pie. I'm just at the tuck shop window. I've got my pie and my drink. And as I'm leaving to go there, I see this guy, Alan. He's in line. And I walk past him and I shove him with I shoulder barge him. And I go, "Out of my way, motherfucker." Right? I was just, ugh. Like, how does it feel? How do you like it? And he turns around, he drops his bag and puts his fists up. And so I dropped my pie. I remember put my pie and my drink down because I was like, "I'm coming back for you." And I dropped my bag and I put my fists up. And then suddenly, like, everyone just suddenly realized, "Fight!" And so suddenly there's a circle around us. And I remember both of us standing there. And it felt like, for ages, I felt like we stood there for like a minute. Just both of us, like, not doing anything. And I remember yelling at him. I said, "Hit me! Hit me!" And I yelled at him, "Hit me!" And he did this big swing with his right, where he puts all his body weight behind it and lunges forward. And I ducked under it. And, he'd kind of gone the whole way, so he kind of stumbles forward. And we exchanged positions. And he turns around. And I remember I hit him I jabbed him with the left in his mouth. And he went down. And he was just down there holding his mouth. I later found out that his tooth went through his lip. And that was it. And like someone came and broke it up and everything. And for the rest of lunchtime, I don't think I ate my pie. This is the first time I'd ever been so full of adrenaline. Right? So full of adrenaline. I remember sitting there shaking because I was like, I've just been in a fight, and you're just so hyper aware. Now the thing is, Alan was Chinese. And this, word got around. And so for the classes and the rest of the afternoon, people were saying, "Shit, man. You shouldn't have done that to Alan. He's triads. He's triads. He's going to kill your family. He's going to tell his triad friends, and like, you're dead." And I believed them. I was like, "Oh no, oh no, oh fuck, oh no. The triads are going to murder my family because I got in a fight with this kid at school." And I remember after school, he was waiting for me at the school gates. I was walking my bike across the field, and a lot of people were following me because they were like, "He's going to get you after school." This is the other thing that was going around. He's triads and he's going to get you after school. And he's waiting at the gates and he's smoking a cigarette. And I just keep walking and he starts following me. And everyone's following us behind. And he's all like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Fine, just looking away." By the way, I'm dead scared of this guy at the moment because everyone said he's triads. And he pulls out the smoke and he goes, "You want to smoke?" And I'm like, No, I'm just going to get home. And I can't quite get on my bike because there's so many people around. And some people start going, "Fight, fight, fight." And we get to this park. And someone goes, "Fight him!" And I remember I turned around to yell at this person. I said, "There's not going to be a fight." And before I got to the end of the sentence, Alan sucker punched me in the side of the head. And I remember having a brief blackout. Like, I didn't wake up on the floor. I woke up in a squatted position. Like, he'd hit me and I'd clearly just like kind of crouched down. And I remember looking up and I saw Alan waving his fist in the air like he'd won something. And I remember he had all these rings on. He'd put on all these rings. And I remember I felt one hit. Someone told me he hit me like about 3 times. Like, bam, bam, bam. And someone said, "Are you going to go after him?" I said, "No." I said, That's it. And that was it. That was the end. But no, it wasn't the end. It was the end in terms of fight. But I was so relieved, like, if that's the triad revenge I get, that's fine. And then the next day I got called into the deputy principal's office. And she's like, "Did you get into a fight?" I was like, "Yep." And she blasts me about this, like fighting on school grounds. And she said, "We're going to leave it here because I've also heard that he assaulted you after school. So we're going to leave it there." I don't think my parents ever found out. I don't think I told my parents about this. I don't know. So that was my first fight. In retrospect, I remember looking back and going, okay, he sucker punched me, but when we were actually fighting, I punched him. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you. Oh, this is a long one. Thank you so much for listening. I will catch you guys later. Thank you very much. Bye.